We are back, MLS Aces podcast episode 225. This is our intro into the episode with Michele Giannone, but I'm here with a special friend, someone who we just realized is his first time on the podcast, Greg Johnstone, co-host of the Revolution Recap podcast. Greg, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be making my debut, and I hope I can be a suitable opening act. This is a pretty big episode for you here, so I'm certainly feeling the pressure a little bit, but excited to talk to you about the Revs a little bit today.
No, it was definitely a great conversation with Michele, and the listeners will get to that. But let's have a great conversation ourselves first. I wanted to bring you on as a little bit last minute. If you guys follow either of us, right, the Revolution Recap or MLS Aces on Twitter, then you probably saw the Twitter interactions here. I asked Greg to come on to chat a little bit about the Revs' brand new DP, young, hopefully fun and exciting signing of Giacomo Veroni from Juventus. So, Greg, I'll start things off with you here first. Just initially, as a Revs fan, because I always go to we're fans of the game first. What did you think of obviously the whole Buxa being sold to Ligue 1, and now the Veroni kind of hopefully he is the DP replacement for him?
Well, the Buxa move, I think, was expected by everyone who follows this team week in and week out. I don't want to say Buxa was unhappy here, but ever since he came into MLS, it was very apparent that he was coming in. This was a stepping stone, and he was going to be returning to Europe. And he gave a lot of interviews over in Poland about he wanted to return to Europe eventually. He wanted to get more playing time with the Polish national team. And I think Europe was the way for him to do that. That was kind of the direction he wanted his career to take. So a lot of people expected him to be sold last offseason, and there were rumors that there were some competitive bids coming in last offseason too, and the Revs kind of held Buxa for Champions League this year, which obviously did not work out for the Revs. But Buxa being sold pretty much right away when the summer transfer window opened wasn't really a huge surprise. I think we all kind of saw the writing on the wall. So it's certainly a huge loss, but and a lot of fans were really, really skeptical about how they're going to replace him, but ultimately it was expected. And I think everyone knew Bruce Arena had very, very big shoes to fill at that 9 position. With the addition of Veroni, I don't know a ton about him. I can't say I'm an expert on the Austrian Premier League, but from what I've read about him, from what I've seen about him over this past week or so, he seems to check a lot of boxes and seems to be a Buxa-like signing. This is another guy that is coming to MLS, looking to kind of use it as a stepping stone to his next path in his career. He's gotten some time with the Albanian national team. It looks like he's trying to break in there further. And it certainly seems like an exciting young prospect. He's only a year or two younger than Adam Buxa, but he's certainly ready to make that next step in his career. And I think he's a great fit for the Revolution. So the Revs have made some great signings with Petrovic and Dylan Barrero, replacing Matt Turner and Tajon Buchanan, respectfully. Hopefully Bruce Arena is making it 3 for 3 this season with the addition of Veroni.
Look, I know there's a lot of potential just U.S. soccer. I feel like people who just want to always make the Bruce Arena joke or want to give some hate to Bruce Arena. At the end of the day, I've always said if there's one thing that Bruce Arena knows, he knows how to win in Major League Soccer, and he's proven that year after year. Right? He's won trophies, won records, all this stuff. So the fact that the replacements for Tajon and Matt Turner have for early on looked really, really good so far. I have confidence that Veroni's going to come in and be a suitable replacement for Buxa. And when I first saw this move, right, I always go to Transfermarkt. That's just my first spot because I think the information there is top notch. I saw obviously a Juve product on loan within the Austrian Bundesliga. I think he was playing for WSG Tirol. Not sure. Again, probably butchered that. But he won the Golden Boot last season in the Austrian Bundesliga. The last player that we've had come over to Major League Soccer who's had a similar profile is Dejan Joveljic for the LA Galaxy, right? And I know his time hasn't been maybe the most productive so far with the Galaxy because I don't think he's gotten the most minutes. But within the last few weeks, we've seen Greg Vanney play Joveljic and Chicharito next to each other, and he's scoring a ton. He's looking really productive. So it's a very similar profile to me to him, and I think if you could get a guy of Joveljic's caliber up top for the Revs, and he looks like he could be, then I think at the end of the day, you could have that Buxa replacement, and again, a very strong contender for Eastern Conference title winners in in MLS Cup playoffs.
Yeah, and again, he's surrounded with a lot of talent. It seems like that 9 spot is a vacant hole right now, and they just need the right guy who can finish shots and convert chances. And if his last season in the Austrian Premier League is any indication, he's going to do that very, very well. Carlos Gil, I don't think he's having an MVP caliber season this year, but he's still very, very dangerous. Dylan
Yeah.
Barrero has come in right away and is working out really, really well with the team. Gustavo Bo is obviously a nice player to kind of play off of, and he's also had a good partnership with Dylan Barrero. He's been implementing him into the offense and with the team very, very early on. So look for Gustavo Bo to kind of help establish him in there, and they still have guys like Sebastian Lletget as well. So they have a lot of weapons on this team, and so they really need just someone that's clinical at finishing. And I think he's the perfect fit for this system. I don't think he's going to be a perfect Buxa replacement.
Mhm.
I think Buxa was so incredible in the air that the Revs at times are almost over relying on crossing from DeJuan Jones and Brandon By.
Yeah.
And Brooks could just win everything in the air. Veroni's good in the air. I don't know if he wins everything. I don't know if he's going to be as much of a threat, but he's certainly going to be a weapon in the box for the Revolution.
Well, again, the last thing that I'll say about Veroni here is he has scored in a third of his first team appearances across Juve, multiple clubs across lower divisions in Italy, and then obviously Austria last season. So scoring in a 30-year games is not bad for a 23-year-old. And if you want to count those assists in there too, then the product looks right, especially on paper, to come in and do well. But obviously, we'll see how it actually turns out on the field. Greg, I know it's a short-lived cap, but I'm happy to get you cap tied on the MLSAces podcast. Is there anything that you want to finish up by saying about the Revs, or if you just want to let the people know where they can find more of you?
Well, you can follow us on Twitter at Revolution Recap. We also have a Revolution Recap Facebook and Instagram pages. So if that's your preferred social media, please go follow us over there. We're also available on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. So if you want to hear weekly breakdowns of the Revolution game, please go subscribe to us. We also have some interviews. We also have some bonus content coming out over the next couple of months. So please follow us there. But in terms of the Revolution, I just want to say 10 games unbeaten, probably the least impressive unbeaten streak in the history of Major League Soccer. 6 draws in those 10 games. But the team is slowly turning it around. I don't think 7th place is where we wanted it to be. But, as I say, if Bruce goes 3 for 3 on these signings, it kind of makes up for the Omar Gonzalez and Josie Altidore signings over the offseason. It seems like, as I say, if this is 3 for 3, we seem to be trending towards the right direction. And we might be that dark horse in the East. It kind of sounds weird calling us a dark horse, but expect the Revolution to make some noise as a 5 or 6 seed this year. We might be like NYCFC last year in the 4th spot. So just want to say everything looking good for the Revs, and hopefully Veroni works out just as well.
I love it. Well, thank you, Greg, for joining and giving a little Veroni insight to the MLSAces podcast. Thank you to Greg Johnstone from the Revolution Recap for coming on, chatting a little bit with me about Giacomo Veroni on his transfer from Juve to the New England Revolution. I just have a few more things that I quickly want to chat about before I get into my interview with Michele Giannone for kind of maybe the bulk of this episode. But I think one of the major things I have to say is a major congratulations to the US U20 squad for winning the 2022 CONCACAF U20 championships. So many talented, just players on the field, so many impressive performances. I have to give major shout outs to Paxton Aronson, Quinn Sullivan, Julian Neal for winning or being named to the best 11 for the U20 tournament for CONCACAF. Awesome. I think Diego Luna not being on that 11 is a little disrespectful for Diego Luna and what he did in these games and being a key piece to the squad that won it all. But whatever, I'll hold my reservations back as well. I also missed one there. Sorry, Chris Brady. Congratulations to you as well. The new or the next up and coming stud Chicago Fire goalkeeper. But let's just kind of quickly go through some of the news and notes that's happened since the last episode that I had. And if you guys didn't check out last episode, it was me and Jason Vivang. We were chatting with current Chicago Fire, going back to the Fire. current Chicago Fire manager Ezra Hendrickson. So if you guys didn't get a chance to check that out, or any of the recent episodes that we've dropped since the refresh of the podcast, definitely go check it out. I think I said this last week. They're almost, maybe not all of it, but almost evergreen episodes. So you can go back, listen, and it's all kind of relevant to an extent. But let's dive into a few more news and notes from this week. The 18-month loan for Javier La Chofis Lopez has ended, and the now former San Jose attacking midfielder will head back to Chivas Guadalajara after, like I said, his 18-month stint with San Jose. In his 37 games for them, he's had a total of 13 goals, 3 assists, and to me, it looks like Jamiro Montero will probably step in and just be that full-time number 10 replacement more than he already has, this season so far. But I really didn't hate the tenure of La Chofis in San Jose. I think overall San Jose's front office, manager situation, club situation was kind of just a mess overall, for a lack of better words. And I feel like maybe if there was a little bit more solidity there, like just more solid structure of a club in general, a club off the field that led to a solid structure of a club on the field, La Chofis might have been more of a star than what we saw. But I think his tenure was good, not great. Sure, quality, fine quality DP level, but not too much there at the end of the day. Also, just want to give a quick major shout out to DC United, and more specifically Griffin Yao, for getting his big European move. The DC homegrown decided, or got sold. He did decide, but he got sold to Belgian club KVC Westerlo. Just really pumped to see another American youngster get a shot over in Europe. 54 games between DC and Loudoun, DC's USL affiliate. 6 goals and 1 assist in that time as well. Not that he put up these crazy numbers, but at the end of the day, DC get $100,000. That's the reported fee, and some sell-on money. So if Yao explodes over in Belgium, then everyone wins at the end of the day, right? So congratulations to him. LAFC, they terminated the contract of Canadian men's national team defender center back Doniel Henry. Only played 6 games for the club this 2022 season when they signed him in the offseason, but Chiellini's arrival, paired with Murillo and Mbak's, I guess, just success this season, really kind of just left O'Neill kind of on the outside looking in for playing time at LAFC. And with Chiellini coming in, I mean, he's going to play, right? So really, I guess O'Neill has to find a club sooner rather than later. It's the summer. It's you can get a free transfer anywhere you kind of want to go at this point. Maybe he goes back to Korea. We will see. But he's got to get playing time if he wants to make the Canada squad for Qatar this winter. The next transfer, or I guess next sale, Orlando City selling winger Sylvester Vanderwater to the Eredivisie side, SC Camber. Again, another dude who I think came to Major League Soccer, had a little bit of hype around them as someone who could be maybe a low-end starter, just high-end guy off the bench. 33 games for the Lions, 3 goals, 2 assists. But when you bring in a DP winger in Facundo Torres, a DP striker in Erkin Kara, Pato's doing well, Tesho, Benji Michel, guys like that who are producing and definitely coming in at a lower salary. Like Vanderwater was on the outside looking in for minutes on the team. So don't think he was a bad player, just definitely wasn't, right fit, right time type of deal. Another forward has been sold back to Europe. Minnesota United have sold their DP striker, Adrian Hunau, to Ligue 1 side Angers. Hunau coming from the French league initially, I think going back just kind of makes sense for him. He never really felt like he gelled or just fit in with the Minnesota United squad or Major League Soccer in general. 40 games between his time with Minnesota United, and I think he had 1 or 2 games for Minnesota United 2 in MLS Next Pro this season. A combined 10 goals and 1 assist. That's just not, at the end of the day, that's just not the production you want out of a DP level player. 10 goals in 40 games just isn't it, right? So Hunau out, and I think right now you have the combination of Amaria, Fragapane, Lod, Donladi, McMaster, and Reynoso kind of just hoping to gel things and get things together for Minnesota. And hopefully just Reynoso can drag them into the playoffs in general. But that's pretty much it for Minnesota. We will see if they decide to kind of dive into the transfer market and see if they can get a replacement for Hunau. Another major signing. Well, now not leaving the league, coming into the league. Inter Miami, they have signed forward, striker, winger, whatever you want to call him, Jean Corentin from RSC. I can't remember off the top of my head. One of those three letters, RSC Lens in League 1. The former League 1 and League 2 champion is now coming to Miami to join their attack, and kind of it seems like Phil Neville's trying to bring in his guys into the attack, maybe out with the Higuains and more in with the Campagnas, the Quarantines, the Indiana Vasilevs, whatever it may be there. But this guy's got some experience to him. Like I said, he's won both the first and second divisions in France. He has over or close to 250 games played in his career, 35 goals, 21 assists. He's played for major clubs like Monaco, Troyes, Toulouse, just clubs like that, right? And I think really maybe getting him into a refresh of a club or a refresh of a spot could maybe do some wonders for his career. The last season or two for him hasn't been the most ideal over in France. So maybe coming to America, pairing him with a guy like Campagna, who has been a nice bright surprise for them, could be something awesome for Miami, for him, and for just everyone involved, right? So hoping to see Quarantine come over, have some success, and a little bit of a refresh of his career. The last confirmed move and transfer that I want to chat about super quickly is a Toronto FC move. Toronto FC, they signed center back, left back Domenico Crescito on a free transfer. The former Italian national team member has played a majority of his career with Juventus, Zenit St. Petersburg, and Genoa. He's a former two-time Russian Premier League champion, a two-time Russian Super Cup champion, a one-time Russian Cup champion. Like, this dude had a long career over in Zenit, won a ton in Zenit. And then obviously that kind of led him having a decent Italian national team career. I think 25 caps for them, over 500 games. I mean, this guy's in his mid 30s, right? I think mid to late 30s. So it's not like he's going to come in and he's going to be the long-term answer, long-term solution. But he kind of plays nicely into Bob Bradley's system, whether they want to play a back three, maybe they want to play him over at left back, and you still have Salcedo and Mavinga playing in the center of the park with Marshall Rudy out on the right back, right wing back spot. So I think it's a fine move. It's a fair move. It's nothing that's going to be like groundbreaking or anything like that, but it definitely just seems kind of like a Bob Bradley move. And with Insigne and Giovinco in the past, kind of continuing that Italy trend to Toronto and to the sixth. And maybe to kind of continue that, there is a major rumor going on. By the time this drops Wednesday morning, I'm not sure if it's going to be confirmed. I'm not sure anything like that, but there is news breaking from Taylor Twellman that Toronto FC are going to be signing Federico Bernardeschi on a free transfer this summer, which is absolutely incredible. We freaked out about the likes of Zlatan, Drogba, Thierry Henry, Insigne, right? We freaked out about Insigne and Shaqiri more recently. This is big. Bernardeschi is an Italian national team member. He, was a key player on Juventus, and he's only 28 years old, 27 years old, something like that. It's not like he's the 30 plus post career retirement, blah blah blah. We want to talk about with Major League Soccer. Bernardeschi's coming in as a dude who can be a starting right winger, a dominant right winger, and someone who can be a difference maker on any MLS team. You have him at the right wing, Insigne in the left wing, Jesus Jimenez, who's been very good for Toronto FC this season. That is a formidable attack. Now, all of that being paired with the news that Toronto FC will be transferring attacking midfielder Alejandro Pozuelo to Inter Miami. Wild. Just absolutely wild. in a whole stretch of news that broke that broke a little bit before. If Pozuelo goes to Miami, it's apparently a transfer fee of $150,000 in general allocation money, which is absolutely stupid business. I don't care if Pozuelo's contract's up. You have to do some type of business to get more than just $150,000 in allocation money. No offense to like Nick Hagland, but I think he went for like close to $1 million in allocation money. Pozuelo and Hagland are not the same level type of player, but I digress there. Alejandro Pozuelo going to Inter Miami does not make Inter Miami an Eastern Conference Finals caliber type of club, but you start to pair Pozuelo with Jean Mota and Gregory in the midfield for them. Then you have Campania up top mixed with Quarantine, who we talked about before. This Inter Miami squad starting to kind of feel like it's a different team, starting to feel like it is Phil Neville's team, and could be interesting for next season and beyond. But Toronto FC are going to be interesting, right? They're in the basement of the Eastern Conference right now, but you start pairing or you start getting teams out there of Bernadeschi, of Insigne, of Jimenez, Osorio, now Crescito on the back line, Marshall Rudy back fully healthy. It's going to start getting super interesting of what this Toronto FC squad could look like and what they could do for the rest of the 2022 season and beyond. Obviously, again, Bernadeschi only being 27, 28 years old. So I'm excited for what Bob Bradley's doing up in Toronto. I'm excited for what's come to Major League Soccer, but without further ado, I will stop the conversation of just myself here, and I will let you guys dive into the conversation between myself and Michele Giannone. We talk about a ton of news. We talk about a ton about his career, what's going on in just the MLS universe overall. We talk about MLS All Star stuff. So without further ado, myself and Michele Giannone. We are back with another episode of the MLSAces podcast. This is your host, Tom Sweezy. And this week I am joined by the MLS and US MNT correspondent for TUDN Univision, host of the US Football Podcast with his friend Nico Cantor, Michele Giannone. Michele, how are you?
Hi, Tom. Good, and you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, of course, doing well. It's just it's another day. It's another busy middle of the week kind of day.
Yeah, you've been recording a lot. I love your content, so I'm excited about what you're putting out.
Yeah, no, it's been a ton since the redrop of the podcast and everything like that. A lot of conversations, a lot of good conversations, a lot of interesting conversations I didn't think I'd have, but I'm excited to add another great one to the list of interviews and episodes that are going to be coming out. I'm thinking this one's probably going to be coming out in like 2-ish weeks. So if you're listening to this and it's a little late and some of the information may be a little, old or whatever, that's probably why. But let's dive into the MLS USMNT fun talk. So first things first, I put out my All-Star 11 today, and immediately you had to respond with the lack of Ilie Sanchez. So please convince me and the listeners now why Ilie is an MLS All-Star in 2022.
I think he's the MVP of the league, actually. Joking aside, I think he's, at least I've had him, like I've been doing my MVP power rankings since a few weeks ago. I don't remember when I started. I started like at week 7 or 8. I don't remember. And I've always had like Georgie with Driussi, Carles Gil, those names with Ilie Sanchez, Pablo Ruiz. I saw you had Pablo Ruiz. And I honestly don't understand that. And I think it's just BS that people say, oh no, central midfielders, defensive midfielders, center backs, fullbacks cannot be in the MVP discussion. I think that's BS. We saw last year, Joao Paulo was in the MVP discussion, and he's a defensive midfielder. So I'm not on that camp. And it's pretty simple for me. I do believe that Georgie, Driussi, because their teams have been better than we thought, and they are probably the main reason why they are where they are. But I do believe that LAFC is the best team in the league, and Ilie has been the best player on LAFC. And I mean, it's simple math. Best player on best team. That's the way I see it. But then there's the other discussion. Where would Montreal be without Georgie? Probably outside of the playoffs, for sure. Where will be the Revolutions without Carles Gil? Probably last. Like I was making this case like a couple of weeks ago. Like without Buxa, with Boat has already come back, but he was injured. The team was a mess. And Carles Gil was still balling. Was the only thing keeping afloat that team. So those are the ways to see it. But at the end, I think that we also have to reward the best team. And I was having this conversation with David Gass of what I wanted to see in the All-Star. And I was telling him, well, I know the names, Cell, Chicharito,
of course.
Vela, etc., etc. But let's start rewarding the best players on the best teams.
Yeah,
because they're up there thanks to them. I know Wagner doesn't sell jerseys, but he's been the best fullback on MLS in my
for
opinion.
a few years now.
Yeah. Ilya Sanchez. It's a name that people are still like, oh my god, no, he wasn't that great last year in Sporting Kansas City. Well, he plays center back most of the time because the team was kind of a mess in the back. He played injured. So I think we got to put in perspective all of the time. And sometimes I believe that a lot of pundits, experts, even fans get caught up with like things that happened maybe last year, a few months ago. I think we can evolve and we can move past forward opinions, right? We can change opinions. And like Pablo Ruiz, even a lot of RSL fans, they still don't love him. No, he's been inconsistent the last couple of years. He doesn't. His shot on goals always finish in the stands.
Yeah.
But okay, that was last year. That was 2 years ago. Players get better, players evolve,
Players adapt.
Exactly. And Pablo Ruiz, and you have it on your All Star. He's probably with Ilya, one of the best defensive midfielders right now in MLS. So that's the way I see it.
The whole like All-Star and then MVP conversation is always crazy, right? Because at the end of the day, like I'm sure there's players out there who get an MVP award, but do they really care if their team didn't win MLS Cup, right? There's a lot of players who are like, great, it's a trophy, thank you, great, but like I want the on the field success. And you can have it in any conversation with any US sport where we sit and we just chat about, is LeBron the MVP? Where would the Lakers be without LeBron? And you have the same conversation with that. But it honestly does lead to a really good conversation of just like, I think it's more like, where do you value players on teams and really how important are players to teams within the league and everything like that. But when it comes down to the All-Star game, you mentioned a really good point of, names and players sell, especially when you're trying to do this Liga MX versus MLS, kind of just all-star, best player versus best player, go at it type of deal, just to sell tickets, money, all that stuff. I do personally believe let's reward the best players in the league who are playing the best halfway-ish through the season, and let's just go out there and see which league is producing the best. Obviously, you're not going to get that. I don't know. I think, isn't that why like Don Garber has his 3 spots that he can just pick players for? Fine, throw in Shaqiri, Carlos Vela, and Chicharito if those are the 3 you want to put in there that the fans and the media didn't vote in. Like, I don't know. It's just the whole names just to sell tickets sucks when you're looking at it from a pure like I want to watch the best soccer point of view. But I get your point of like you also have to sell the game a little bit too.
Right, but Liga MX is already selling the game.
Yeah.
You know that most of the fans are going to be there for the Liga MX players. And that happened last year when they played in LA, Bank of California. Like most of the fans were there to see Chicharito and Vela. They didn't play, but still they saw players from America, from Chivas, from all these Mexican teams that you normally cannot see here in the US. Me, for example, I'm super excited to see Gignac.
Yeah.
He's probably the best player in the whole continent for the last 5 years, probably.
It's insane how long he's just been dominating.
So let's not worry about the big names in MLS that they're not going to move the tickets. The tickets are already being moved and sold, and all the names are coming from Liga MX, right? Maybe that's not the case because it's in Minnesota. So I don't know how much of a reach like the Mexican community has in Minnesota, but obviously it's not LA. It's not Houston or
Chicago,
another big Mexican. But still, it's gonna be a sellout. No matter who comes. We saw it. I was in Chicago this past weekend, and this is coming out. You said 2 weeks ago, so I was for the Chicago Fire DC United game. At that day, 2 hours before, Chivas and Atlas were playing pregame season, a friendly in SeatGeek Stadium. The stadium was packed. There were more people watching Chivas Atlas playing a preseason game than people
DC
that were
Chicago.
in Soldier Field watching Chicago DC United. So Yeah, just give me the best players on Major League Soccer. If you're worried about tickets, about selling, that's already done. Bringing Liga MX stars. So it's let's reward the best players. Maybe not the most attractive names, but I mean that's what the All Star is supposed to be. So yeah, that's the way I see it, and we agree.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, you don't have to, if you don't have it on the spot, you don't have to tell me, but do you have an idea of a few players that you feel like deserve, like, immediately off the top of your head, like starting 11 spot for the All-Star game?
Right now?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's I think the goalkeeper, it's between St. Clair and McMath.
Yeah.
And Blake. Obviously, I think those three have been above everyone. When I think Philly takes the whole defense probably.
Yeah.
With Ariel,
you could just start it
Wagner,
all. Yeah, you're good.
You can start Glesnes. You can start the back four with Philly. I will put in the midfield. You have Fagundes, Driussi, Georgie, Ilie, Pablo Ruiz.
I feel like even Lucho Acosta definitely.
Lucho Acosta, I have him too on my. I had him on my top 5, and then on top it's Paul Arriola, Jesus Ferreira, Tati. I don't know if Tati is going to be sold by that time. Probably. Maxi Morales has to be there. He's been incredible. I think, and this is funny because we're so fixed on talking about Tati. And losing Tati. What is New York City FC gonna do when Tati leaves? No, they already have their potential replacement. That's what Thales Magno is there. But what do you do? And we see it when Maxi doesn't play, the team's really soft.
Yes.
So I would love to see Maxi Morales there. So I think those are the names. It's not, and of course, throw Chicharito in there. He's been scoring, of course. Throw. I don't know if Carlos Vela is gonna be here. That's an interesting. Well, when we're recording this, it's still 9 days until his contract it's up.
Exactly.
So right now we don't know. I've been reporting since February that I said that this was gonna be his last LAFC season on LAFC. And that it was gonna be difficult for LAFC because you had to match with money. His desire and his family desire to come back to Europe. So you gotta put a lot of money on the table to compensate for that. And I mean, it's 9 days right now that we're recording this, and it's not done. It's not done.
So what are you making of the reports? Because I feel like I heard it from David Goss earlier on today. I was listening to him and Tom Bogert chat about, the MLS power rankings and whatever it may be. I thought I heard Goss or Bogert say that there was a verbal deal done, but obviously it's not until it's signed, right? That's not until the deal's done.
The way I see it, it's that it's funny because when I reported this, and it got a lot of echoes around the league immediately from LAFC. And I remember that same Saturday in the ESPN broadcast, Taylor Twellman reported, no, they're working on a deal. It's going to be done in a few weeks. And that was clearly the team just giving Taylor some information so he can put it out to placate the flames now.
Soften the blow a little bit.
And then for a few months and a few weeks we've been hearing, there's a deal in place. There's a deal in place. We've been hearing this for months already. And I know Carlos, and he just spoke after the game. He doesn't give an F. It's business. It's money. It's his legacy. I do believe it will be lunacy for LAFC to lose him for free. So I think this is what I think is going to happen. This is me. And we're gonna see if I'm right when people listen to this. Because it's gonna be past the due date. They're gonna get an agreement for 18 months, but he's just gonna finish the season and then he's gone. And then that extra year that he signed with LAFC is gonna help the team to get something in return for him. Because I do not believe that even Carlos wants to leave this team that it means a lot to him. LAFC means a lot to him, that he's just gonna leave and goodbye. You don't get anything from me. I'm leaving for free. See you later. I don't think that's gonna happen.
I mean, we saw it this past weekend, right? Carlos Vela just had his 100th game. He got the jersey, the captain's armband when he subbed on. All like you can tell that when he steps on the field, LAFC, the club, means a lot to him. But we also know, and we've seen it throughout his career, he's motivated by other things outside of just, love of the game. And it's a valid point. There's plenty of players out there who are motivated by those kinds of things. So, it's going to be interesting to see. I do agree with you. I think LAFC should try to get the most that they can out of him. If you're not going to re-sign him, he's not in the long-term plans. Like, he's been the best on the field player for the short amount of time he has been in Major League Soccer, in the overall league's history. You have to get something from him. If he wants to go back to Europe, he wants to go back over and prove something or whatever it may be, that's what you have to get from him if you're the front office of LAFC and that ownership group, for sure. Because if you're not, then that is a very poor piece of business there.
Yeah. But I understand that. I also understand it on the LAFC side.
Yeah.
That at the end, they're just going to say, we could just bite this bullet. And Carlos leaving even if it's for free, it opens a DP spot. They already have another DP spot that I know they're going to use. And they're looking for an attacking player, for a winger, because they're very thin up there. They have Opoku, they have Musovski, they have Brian Rodriguez, but I don't think it's enough.
Yeah.
And Chicharango, it hasn't scored at the same rate that he has scored last year. So maybe that even if they don't get something in return, they're quote unquote getting something in return, which is a DP spot.
Yes.
So let's see how it plays out. We're gonna know in a little bit over a week.
Exactly.
But yeah, my prediction is that they're gonna find some type of agreement, even if they're announcing that it's gonna be 18 months or whatever. I think he's just gonna finish up this season and then he's gone. And like I said at the beginning of the year, that his desire was coming back to Europe, especially his wife and kids and family, because LA it's very far from where they are, from where his family is. His family is in Cancun. Okay. Her family is in San Sebastian. Okay. So even they will like, actually, I was told, and like I said on February, an option on the East Coast will be a good option because you're way closer to Europe from the East Coast, and Cancun and Mexico it's very accessible from right there, right? So let's see. And I hope he stays for the long term. Hopefully,
I would love it. Yeah.
Like when Carlos is healthy and when he's engaged, and I do believe he's always engaged, he's the best for me. He's the best player in the league.
Yes.
And we know he's starting to get on the bad side of 30s soon. So maybe you don't sign him, or you don't try to sign him for 3-4 more years. But I do believe that Carlos has at least 2 really MVP caliber type of seasons in him. And this team is ready to win right now.
Yeah.
And even if they're not as Vela dependent as they were in the past, they still need him a lot.
You inject him into that lineup, and look,
everything changes.
Becomes a good team or a very good team into they're winning titles and multiple titles. S at the end of that, like they're stellar at the end of that. 100%. I think 100%. If LAFC wants to be this, I think, regional powerhouse over the next few years, if you're looking at like what the Sounders are doing, right? I think you need a guy like Carlos Vela to do that. Other than, you're looking at top of the MLS. Okay, well, outside of that, let's look at CONCACAF. If that's the aspirations at LAFC, definitely. I'm sure they want to get to, and I think they've been very open about that. But kind of steering away from LAFC, or maybe we stay with LAFC here, but looking again about halfway through the season right now for the 2022 season, which clubs have impressed you the most? Obviously, I think some of my all-star picks have kind of leaning me towards Real Salt Lake, kind of overproducing and just doing way more than a lot of people predicted them to be doing at the start of the year. But who has that club or even player been for you?
Well, Austin will be the easiest choice, but I agree with you. RSL right now, they're sitting right now when we're recording this, they're second in the Western Conference, second on the Supporter Shields behind LAFC, and they're doing it without Krylak, which is insane. It's it's madness that they're doing this without Krylak, and it's not just something recently. They've been doing it for almost 2 months without him. He barely played at the beginning of the season. He had problems in his back. He had to have surgery. He's going to be out at least for, I think, 2, 3, 4 months. I'm not sure.
It's a long-term injury.
So it's I actually spoke to him in like a month ago or a little bit over that. I was in Salt Lake City broadcasting one of their games, and I spoke directly to him, and he was still like trying to work it out to like physical therapy.
Yeah.
And when they thought he was ready to come back, he had a setback, and it was just brutal. But then we just this team is weird, man, because last year's run was absurd. Like winning that game in Seattle, the way they got into the playoffs to start with
was ridiculous.
With Krylak's goal at 94th minute, it is absurd. Then they go to Seattle and they win without a shot on goal. Then they go to Kansas City and they destroyed Sporting Kansas City. And now you tell me they're losing Rusnak. They're not going to have Krylak. Ochoa is going to have a massive step down in his development.
Yeah.
They were going to have like Zach McMath, like we already mentioned, like probably starting the All Star game.
The ownership group swap over of like that whole kind of late off-season inject of players and talent, and it's crazy.
And Mastroeni, who is not the greatest tactician in the world, but he's
getting the
they were
job
telling
done.
me like he's like the Diego Simeone of Utah, like the way that the players react to them.
Yeah.
The way the players and people in the front office and the staff talk about him, like he's just a bigger than life presence in the locker room. The way he coaches, the players are all in, and when you have that, you have half of the battle.
Yeah.
One.
No,
and then
exactly.
And then you have Herrera coming back, which has been playing great. We have Marcelo Ruiz as a center back. He's been amazing. He's been balling, being the captain, being the leader on the field. Now they bring back Jefferson Savarino, which is it mitigates a little bit and it helps the field that Krylak role. And now you have Bobby Wood, like if he can start scoring more regularly. It's Justin Meron.
Yeah.
Last year he was like the super sub. That's how Mastroeni said and mentioned, because he didn't have room to put him in with Rusnak, with Krylak. But now Meron has like a second win in
like a little bit of a rebirth.
And I don't know if it's sustainable. I don't think so, that they're just gonna win the Supporter Shields. But are they a playoff team? Yes, I do believe that. I
100%.
mentioned this when they brought back Julio, when they announced Savarino. I mentioned at that moment, and you can go back and look at my Twitter, I'm buying all the RSL stock, all of it, because I've seen it in person, and it's a team that is better than where they were last year. Yes, the Western Conference is probably toughest. One wrinkle is that Nashville moved to the Western Conference, which made it even harder. I think that the disparity between the conference, by the way, it's absurd. The Eastern Conference, when you see that the last few playoff spots in the Eastern Conference are being fought by Charlotte, Miami, Cincinnati, it's crazy.
Because like the 10th team in the West that honestly would like finish easy in a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference.
Absolutely. But I do believe that is RSL better than Galaxy? For me, they are. So I think that's a play. They're a playoff team. So I think they are by far the biggest surprise.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you can throw RSL in there. I think Austin, like you mentioned, definitely one of the bigger surprises of the 2022 season. Cincinnati fighting for a playoff spot's ridiculous. But let's look at some maybe of a disappointment of a club so far through the 2022 season. I think Atlanta United has been that. They've gone through struggles. They've gone through injuries. So it's nothing. I don't think it's any fault of effort on the field or effort from the players or Pineda. I just think it's injuries have also really killed this team. They've brought in some reinforcements from Liga MX, right? They brought in Raul Godinho from Chivas and then Juan Jose Porata from Tigres. Tell me about these guys. Let me know, is this going to be, is Porata going to be a Miles Robinson, not maybe like for like, but is he going to be a nice, I guess, addition to the center back core? And then do we have Godinho being the next Brad Guzan?
I was having this conversation yesterday with a lot of Atlanta people, with Felipe Cárdenas that covers the team day by day with the Athletic. I don't like the Godinho sign. He's been regular to bad with Chivas the last few years. He lost the starting job there. He had a stellar youth career. He went to Europe very young.
Yeah.
And then he came back to Mexico with Chivas with a lot of hype. And he didn't feel that he didn't match the hype. And that's why he's coming for free.
Yeah.
Like Chivas just got rid of him. And for Chivas to just drop a Mexican player, because we got to remember that Chivas only plays with Mexicans. So even buying Mexicans or finding Mexican players on the roster, it's difficult because the rest of the Liga MX makes it difficult for them.
Yeah.
I don't like the Godinho signing. I thought they could have done better. I understand it because it's for free. He has a decent resume. But I would have just given the keys to Rocco Rios, and I would have taken the gamble of Rocco's potential against what I know what Godinho is.
So just really quickly on that, I guess going back to RSL, I'm not trying to make this an RSL podcast, but I guess we're doing it at this point, right? With what we're seeing with Ochoa and kind of, whatever issues are going on with him, his lack of availability for this year and kind of McMath taking the reins, do you almost like then the Godinho signing for Atlanta, where it's almost going to maybe push Rocco a little bit to not be complacent, not be here's the starting job, you've been stellar, you've had these magical moments, here you go. I almost like that from a competition standpoint, maybe pushing each of them to try to be better, take that starting spot.
Yeah, and it's good that you mentioned Ochoa, because that's something that covering the USMNT.
Yeah,
I was there when Ochoa was the third keeper on the Nations League.
Yeah,
he won that trophy with the USMNT, and I think he got too comfortable, both on the USMNT side. Then he gets mad that he doesn't get playing time in that next game after the Mexico final. They played in Salt Lake City. I think it was Costa Rica.
Okay.
And Horvath was given that game because after what he did in the final,
of course, yeah.
Mexico. So Ochoa got mad, and after that he just drops the USMNT, makes the switch to Mexico. Then he had that great but weird run on the playoffs last year. I think his ego got a little bit too big. He got too comfortable, and that's something that, and maybe he didn't have that push, maybe from what you were mentioning, that and now with McMath, it's happening. It's stepping up, and he did, and Ochoa lost his starting position, and I think that's a good point. And we're gonna see what Rocco can do. Godinho cannot play until after July 7th, when the transfer window opens. With the same thing is gonna happen with Chiellini and Insigne and Hector Herrera.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm jumping the gun too soon on Rocco. I think there's a couple of games. I
think it's 3 games Atlanta's gonna have.
Three more games until Godinho can play. So if Rocco is playing good, I don't see why just Godinho is just gonna come and he's starting now.
Right in. Yeah.
So, but having that veteran, because compared to Rocco, Godinho it's a veteran. He has more than 80 games played with Chivas.
Mm-hmm.
He had played with the Mexican national team. He played in Europe as a youngster. So it's going to be a good dynamic. But yeah, I'm not as high as people will think of Gudiño. And just to wrap up the Atlanta, it's just Pineda. It's doing an incredible job. The injuries are just brutal. It's been absurd.
Exactly.
And losing that, your general Miles with Miles, losing Guzan, just that, having that voice, that presence in the back, and Joseph just coming back right now. Like everything happened at the same time.
Exactly.
And
Araju got hurt for a while too, as well.
Yeah. So for Gonzalo Pineda to keep that boat afloat, it's been unbelievable. And they still have the summer window to try to keep fixing the team, like they're trying to do.
Yeah,
so
look, I think Atlanta will be fine because I think Pineda is a very good coach. I think he's just been dealt the shitty hand at this point with everything that's just gone on under his reign at Atlanta. But
they're a playoff team for sure.
Yeah, if as long as no more injuries,
right? You know? As long as Joseph can stay healthy, I'm super high on Almada. I think Almada it is and is gonna be way better than what Pity Martinez and Barco combined were for Atlanta. Okay. And I think he already started showing that. And for me, I think the biggest disappointment of the season, but I already said it from the start, and I got some people didn't love it, but I wasn't very high on the Galaxy, and I'm not high on the Galaxy. I don't think that this iteration of the Galaxy, this roster, is a playoff team. I mentioned that Douglas Costa was the worst signing of the season. You cannot give Douglas Costa a DP spot, because I understand that when people say, oh my God, they're signing Douglas Costa, but you're just fixated on the name.
Yeah, it goes back to the jersey conversation that we said before with the All-Stars.
Exactly. This is not the guy that played at Juve, that played at Bayern Munich, that played at Shakhtar Donetsk. This is the guy that was playing for the last year, 6 months, in the Brazilian second division and playing bad. So, and I've never been high on Cabral. I cannot believe they used a DP spot on him when you had the young DP opportunity to sign him. He's below 22 years old. He's under 22 years old. He has potential. Yes, he does. But then you see the roster. They cannot afford for Chicharito to lose a game, for Mark Delgado to lose a game. Like when you see the bench, is Sasha Kleshchen, is Efra or Victor Vasquez, depending who's playing.
Yeah.
Thank God Jovelic for them has exploded, but that's it. They don't.
I was about to say,
else.
With the way the roster was set up, and obviously with the way we've seen Greg Vanny play his or manage his soccer over the past few years in Toronto, right? Like it's you need a little bit more depth in the midfield than what they have, and the two depth pieces they have. No offense to Sasha and Victor,
no,
they're closer to 40 than they are 30 at this point. So it's not great. And you have, in my opinion, at this point with the roster as is, you have to start Jovelic with Chicharito. You have to they're your two better players. You can't have one just riding the bench at this point.
Yeah, I think this is something we've been discussing for a few weeks, that I understand that he wants to keep playing his 4-3-3, but it's not just suitable. Your players are not responding. Douglas Costa, it hasn't responded. Cabral's not responding. Grancier, it's been fine, but
nothing great
either. So, and I understand his position of, he was mentioning this after the game, we gotta see what we gain, but what we lose if we switch to, I think here at the old situation will be a 3-5-2 with Chicharito and Jovelic, and just give Julian and Raheem Edwards. And we knew Edwards is not, it's not a defensive fullback. He used to play as a winger. And so maybe that it's even like a blessing in disguise if you switch, that you can explode both Julian and Raheem. And I think you on that system you have two really good players in Raveloson and Mark Delgado that have shown that they can anchor the midfield, and I think that's the best solution. And you have, like LAFC, a surplus on center backs.
Yeah.
You have Depuy, you have Sega Koulibaly, you have Williamson. So you have players to do it. I understand the hesitation, but that happened to him in Toronto. At the end, he had to switch when Pozuelo came in, and when Jovinko came in, he switched his formation. So why not try it right now? Because right now it's not working, and you gotta put Joveljic on the field. You have to. Period. End of discussion.
Like when he was coming into the Galaxy, and like everyone was talking about like his resume, I think it was in the Austrian Bundesliga, right, where he was scoring like 20 plus goals in a season. Like obviously there's a difference between the two leagues, the Austrian Bundesliga and Major League Soccer, but in my brain I was like, there's no way you can't bring this guy in and not have him like, you know, just let it rip. Like if he's scoring 20 goals in a season, obviously he's a confident striker. Like he has some skill behind it. Like just let him get out on the field, put the ball at his feet, and just go. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's just it hasn't. I don't know. It hasn't been there. I don't know. I guess maybe like you said, it's Greg Vanny's reluctancy to switch up the formation a little bit as well. But we'll see. The Galaxy are always an interesting case, especially the last 5-6 years. I want to just transition things and I guess just finish up our conversation chatting about the USMNT. Obviously, you know, the June window's closed now. We're not going to be, I guess, getting a game until the September friendlies that got announced today. We obviously have positions of conversation. Every single person who's a USMNT fan or aware of the USMNT knows the position battles, I guess. Let's start up top with the names that, you know, excite people. The MVP conversation names the strikers. Right now, it's Jesus Ferrar's job to lose at this point. It just feels like, because mainly, in my opinion, because no one else is taking it.
I think it's also because Jesus does exactly what Berhalter asks and wants from his number 9.
Yeah.
And he also plays in the same system in Dallas with the former main assistant of Greg's, which is Nico Esteves. It helps a little bit. Of course, Pepe not scoring, Pifog not being great, and it's not just great. We saw it in the last qualifier window, especially against Mexico. It's not about missing the opportunity, the wide open opportunity. It's about not doing what Greg asks and wants from number 9, which is hold the ball, make runs, play with your back against goal, find spaces. It's not just sitting in the box and waiting for a cross.
Yeah,
that's not what Greg wants from his number 9. That's why Dike right now is not rated inside that coaching staff. That's why Pifok, I don't think he's rated anymore. That's why I think he was very harsh with Haji Wright. But I still can't wrap my head around what he meant or wanted to say in the post-Honduras game. I think we've never heard Berhalter speak that way about a player, especially a young player. It was very, very odd. We don't know what that meant. I do believe that Jesus Ferreira, if the World Cup starts today, obviously he's the number 9. But I just don't see him losing it. There's nothing to say that Ferreira is not gonna keep playing the way he plays in MLS. And in the next 2 September games, I mean, I don't believe that Pepe or Sargent or whoever comes, they're just gonna score 8 goals against Japan or against Saudi Arabia, because it's not just the goals, it's tactically. And I was having this conversation with Sam Stagel from in Allocation Disorder in the podcast the other day that he had me, and I was telling him, and this is something that I ask internally inside the USMNT staff and players. This team doesn't need the number 9 to score.
No,
we have wingers. We have a lot of.
You need Christian Pulisic to score.
Exactly. So sometimes we know. And I'm pretty sure that Berhalter will be a very happy man if his number 9 scores goals at every game.
Of course.
But he asks a lot from the number 9. And Jesus does that perfectly. So I know it's Jesus. And right now the fight is to find his replacement. Because again, in my roster projection,
Yeah.
I just have Berhalter bringing just 2 number 9s, Jesus and Pepe. I want to say Pepe, because we have so much quality and surplus in the wings.
Yeah.
And we have wings that even Berhalter told me, I can see Christian playing as a false 9. I can see Gio Reyna playing as a false 9. So we have a lot of quality, a lot of surplus on the wings, and scoring quality on the wingers.
Yeah.
That we don't need the number 9 of this team. We need the number 9 of this team to, score, but also do a very specific tactical job that I think Jesus does. And right now the gap, it's way, way too big to feel right now.
I can agree. I think Jesus has it. I think it's his. Hopefully, if the Bundesliga season starts and Pepe starts just banging in everything, I won't be upset. So I'm also going to say that about any other striker we have on this list right now.
Right.
But let's wrap things up with the center backs. Obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but to me, I've said it before. I said this on the episode I had with Eric Zavaleta, that Miles Robinson was my number 1 center back from the past 12 months. I think he was the most outstanding center back, whether it came to, he's heading in goals or defensively. He's just doing the job. Right now, it's Walker Zimmerman, and it's who else? I think from maybe the displeasure of USMNT fans, Aaron Long is that guy penciled in right now. I personally like Aaron Long next to Walker Zimmerman, but I guess right now, how is the center back pool, I guess, conversation shaping out in your eyes?
I think it's pretty locked up right now. If Berhalter is taking 4 center backs, it's Zimmerman, Long, Richards, and CCV.
Okay.
CCV was very impressive.
He was.
In El Salvador.
Mm-hmm.
He was very impressive. I think he was even better than Long on that.
I thought
game.
He had a very good June window overall.
Yeah, and if there's a 5th center back, I guess it's just gonna see who steps up in the next few months. It could be EPV, it could be Mackenzie. We got to remember that Mackenzie started the Nations League final.
Yeah. And he didn't, I guess, outside of the early mistake. I was about to say he didn't look bad. Obviously, there was the early mistake from Mackenzie, but outside of that, I think he bounced back mentally at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you imagine, like, that was so early in the game?
Yeah.
And
you could have just folded.
Melted, yeah. And he didn't. So I've been reporting since October that John Brooks was not coming back, and I've been right. I don't think John Brooks is coming back. So I think the 4 center backs are very locked in right now. Mm-hmm. Of course, hopefully no more injuries. And if Greg takes another center back, like a 5th center back, which probably I don't believe, because we already saw in this window that he can use Reggie Cannon as that emergency in-game center back, or if you want to just give Jedi freedom and just close on a 3 center back, like he did against Morocco with Reggie Cannon. So I think it's gonna depend on how many fullbacks he takes.
Okay.
But I do believe like the 1 through 4 on the center back is very locked in right now, and it shouldn't change.
Okay. My final question for you, and then I will let you go. It was from Tom Bogert. Obviously, you saw it on Twitter. Why are you so damn likable, Michele?
I don't know. Am I?
Yes, you are.
No, I don't know. I don't know. That's not a question that you answer. That's just people
like you.
I'm positive. No, how do you say it? I'm positive.
Yeah.
That there's a lot of people that don't like me. They see me on TV and they hear me. It's like, why is this idiot on TV, or why is you a million people can do your job, and that's probably right.
No one can do it like you.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate Tom, and he's the GOAT. He's the I always joke about him. It's like Fabrizio Romano wants to be you when he grows up. And yeah, man, I'm very blessed.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate. I cannot complain. Like I'm going to knock on wood. I'm going to Qatar for the World Cup.
Awesome.
I was in Russia in the last World Cup, but this will be extra special because I'm gonna be just following the USMNT.
Mm-hmm.
Doing sidelines at MLS every weekend. It's don't get me wrong. This is not a complaint, but it's hard.
Yeah.
Like for at least 34 weekends of the year, almost 34 weekends back to back to back, I'm not home on the weekends. So that's harsh on my girlfriend, on friends, on different relationships, and it's hard on me. I don't have weekends off. So and then when it's an international break, it's not like I'm off. I'm with the USMNT.
Yeah, you're traveling with them.
But I'm very blessed. Again, a lot of people could be in my position, but I'm the one for now doing it. So I'm very grateful. And man, I don't know. I've always be the way of like, don't treat people the way you want to be treated. And a long time ago, a good friend of mine just said, you know what? Just like the smallest of compliments can maybe change the life of a person for better. And like, I don't know, I'm going to a coffee shop and I do this a lot. Like, I'm going to a coffee shop and I see like the barista, or maybe a girl, a man, whatever, and maybe they have their hair paint purple. I don't know. It's like, hey, I love your hair. And sometimes I've had the response like, oh, that made my day. Thank you so much. And it's like, I don't know why it's so hard for that to be common. And again, I'm not saying there's people that don't like me, then that's normal. You're in the public eye. So not a lot of people are gonna like your job, are not gonna like the way you speak. My English is not perfect. But you know what? I cannot focus on the negative, because and it's funny because there's a lot of people that maybe you receive hate on social media, but then those people see you in person and they want to take a selfie with you. So it's super weird. So I'm just trying to enjoy what I've been working so hard to achieve, and I mean, just be a good person, I guess.
And I think that's the perfect way to wrap it up, of just be a good person. You listening, watching right now, just be a good person, compliment someone, make their day. Michele, well, you made my day. You made our day of being on the MLSAces podcast today. Thank you so much, man. And we have to have you back on before you head out to Qatar.
No, thank you so much, man. I'm like I've told you off mic, off camera, whatever, like guys like you and people like you that make this type of content that help the game grow and put out these people that we can consume. I learned a lot listening to you, listening to our guy on MLS is Wild. So, and I'm always trying to like, and even it's funny because, for example, right now Twitter, with these Twitter spaces that MLS in English, they do a lot. Like, I'm like all day like trying to get into everything because I learn a lot. Like, it's funny because we're covering a league that is going to be soon 30 teams. It's hard.
It's a lot. It's a ton.
So I'm just saying, I just support people. I like to support people like you that put great content. And what I'll say, people, is just put your stuff out. You never know who's gonna listen. I got my first shot, and this is a true story. I've been working on this. I swear to you, this is a true story. I'm not. I started doing sidelines for MLS last year. I've been in Univision and TUDN since 2014. I haven't been covering MLS since that time. I started covering MLS full time when I moved, because I was in Miami first. Then they moved me to Mexico City. I was just covering Liga MX there, CONCACAF Champions League, but for the Mexican team side. And I started covering MLS like full time when they moved me to Tijuana. At that point, Miguel Herrera was the Xolos manager, so it was a huge deal for us. And they moved me to Tijuana for 2 years to cover LA, between LA and Tijuana, covering Xolos, and then LAFC that was when LAFC was born as a franchise. So Bella came here, then Chicharito came here, so it was a huge market. It is a huge market for us. And I've been working like in production, in writing, in doing interviews, but I've always like tried to make my space to get the opportunity to be the sideline, because that's my favorite thing to do. Doing sidelines in MLS is my absolute favorite thing to do, and I'm again living the dream.
Yeah.
And I've been asking for the opportunity a long time. And you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, I started the US Football Pod with my good friend and amazing talent, Nico Cantor.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the bosses at TUDN listened to the first episode of the podcast.
And loved it?
Which I did without asking any permission for anyone, just put it out. And he called me and he said, "Hey, I listened to a podcast. Maybe you can, I mean, maybe you can do this. We're gonna find the spot of the opportunity, the opportunity to give you again the opportunity, to do to be on an MLS broadcast. You cover the league, you follow the league, you study the league. So, and that's how I got my shot, because after years of working and asking for opportunity, just because one of the bosses that makes those decisions heard my podcast and he liked the way I talk about the league, about the USMNT, and I said, "Oh, maybe he could do it on TV." And I swear to you, I'm swearing, that's how I got my opportunity to do sidelines on TV for MLS.
I love it.
At Univision.
Those are the types of stories that
you never know
are just awesome. Exactly. And I mean, to anyone out there, I'm not even talking about myself. I'm talking about anyone out there who just wants to chat about something they're passionate about. Put it out there. Like you said, you don't know who's listening. But, I don't know how to wrap it up, but this was great. I seriously loved the conversation. And I don't know. Keep doing you, Michele, because it's great. It's great what you're doing.
You too, man. It's been an honor, and anytime you want me, I'm here. It's a pleasure and an honor to just chat about MLS. It's fun. It's what we like. So why not? I can't get enough.
No, of course.